I'm really super excited about today. More excited about this Kickstart than I have been for a long time because it just feels like so many dominoes have lined up for us this year. We've come through some turbulent times through the pandemic. We've had an amazing new leadership in Michael coming to join us here in the UK, who's really brought together. In the short time he's been here, he's had such an amazing impact already in bringing the leaders together and really encouraging us and nudging us to think outside the box and putting together our new strategy for this year. And so we have put together for you, I know, is going to take us to that vision of number one. It won't happen overnight, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. But it is going to take us where we want to go. And so a big part of that is about us. It's individually coming together in what we each want. When I first started with Forever over 22 years ago, and I know Chris will be the same, the idea of setting goals or, all this thing, dream boards and affirmations, it was all a bit hippy-dippy, wasn't it? Anybody else feel the same way? Yeah? Let's face it, it's for those other kind of people. It's not for us, right? We're like normal people. And so the truth is, it took me a while to get my head around the importance and the role that goal setting can play, and I guess the success or the happiness or fulfillment that an individual achieves in their life. And I didn't do it for probably the first 8 or 10 months in my business because I was too busy learning everything. When you're new, it feels like there's a lot to take on board. But I'd seen other people achieve some amazing things, and Chris was one of them. And I can't wait for you to hear from Chris because I asked her to share some of a presentation I saw all those years ago, and it's going to blow your mind of what's possible. When we look at goal setting, we all have one thing in common. Okay, so if your phones are on, I'm going to say it. Switch them off. Because that's really off-putting for everybody. So can everybody just take 10 seconds to make sure your phones are off? So we all have one thing in common. That one thing we have in common is we've all joined for a reason. When we were shown the opportunity, something grabbed us. Something we wanted to achieve or something we wanted to change in our lives, something maybe we wanted to help other people. We were disturbed. There was an opening for something to change in our lives. It's very personal to the individual. And I think initially certainly for me, I thought it was going to be a walk in the park. I was just going to get started, get a couple customers, recruit a couple team members, and I'd be a triple diamond manager. Anybody else feel like that? And the reality was quite the opposite. And what I learned was this initial top layer of a goal isn't enough. So that thing that we all saw for ourselves when we were shown the opportunity loses its luster quite quickly when you start to encounter disappointments or when things don't go to plan or people don't do what you tell them to do, like children. When people don't follow through or, life happens. Life happens. There are things we have to deal with in life. And it's easy to get knocked off the path of success, isn't it? And I'm the same. I'm no different. We are all the same. And what we hope to do this morning is give you a couple of tools to help you stay firmly on that path to success. Stay firmly on that path to achieving those things that matter most to you. Because when I look back at my 22 years in Forever, there have been, some dark moments, not in Forever, but in my life, there have been some dark moments. Everybody, if I asked everybody, well, who's had some dark moments in the last 22 years? It's called life, isn't it? So it's about equipping ourselves with the tools to make sure we don't grow roots in those dark moments. And that's what I have observed quite often when people find themselves in a difficult spot in life. They start to grow roots there and they're stuck. So if you are one of those people and feel stuck, then we've got something to share with you today. Another observation is if you have been exposed to goal setting before, not just in Forever, but in other areas of your life, maybe your health, maybe your fitness, or maybe other areas, and you haven't achieved, or maybe you have set the same goal year in, year out. Is there anybody who feels like they've set the same goal every year and they still haven't achieved it? Yeah, that's happened to me. Or maybe you're brand new and you're thinking, what is this flipping woman on about? But I have to tell you, I've got my posh boots on, so whatever I'm going to say today is going to make sense. And I wore them for Alan because Alan actually can't believe that I can drive in them. Yes, I put them back on just for you, but they're coming off after because I've hurt my foot. I've got to get my trainers back on. But if you're here for the first time or quite new to Forever and you're still thinking, is this a bit hippy-dippy? It's okay. Personal development is a never-ending journey. But I want to start off with looking at the anatomy of a goal. And the anatomy of a goal has 3 areas to it. It's the what, the why. Yeah, if you can. Do I have to? Don't you know your job by now? Is to do the machines, make me look good, remind me to be here on time.
Okay.
And wear my boots.
Okay.
And wear my boots. Make sure I brought my water and my salad. Okay, so there's 3 parts to a goal: the what, the why, and the how. And if I did a quick survey and say, what's your number 1 goal for this year? You could all tell me like that, right? And the danger is we jump into doing the how. We jump into doing the 7-day plan. We jump into doing the retail plan. We jump into saying, this is the training I need to do. We jump into the doing of it. And we skip what I believe is the magical part, which is the why. Because you see, really connecting with that goal emotionally is the secret sauce that's going to get you from growing roots in those dark moments. It's that emotional connection that's so powerful that even when things don't go to plan or things aren't moving fast enough, when you start to question yourself, and we all have them, Tell me if any of this is familiar. What was I thinking? Maybe I can't really do it. Those other people are doing something different from me. That Michael, he's just too bloody jolly and happy for me, Honestly, what pills is he taking? Because they're not in the Forever plan, right? And you start looking, and then you start panicking, thinking, well, is what I'm doing the right thing? Maybe I should be doing what they're doing, or she's doing, or he's doing. And it's all doubt. Everybody had those doubt-filled days. Okay. So really connecting, and it takes you off the path. Because when you're in doubt, you're not moving forward. I call it you're zigzagging left and right. And left and right doesn't take you further ahead. It keeps you where you are. And growth is about moving ahead, moving forward. Now, I know that some of you who have been with Forever a while have heard a lot about your why. But, different exercises or different meditations maybe you've listened. Now I'm really starting to sound hippy-dippy, eh? I'm not. You're all right. Yeah, Tina, now I'm really getting into hippy-dippy mode. It's okay. Honestly, it works, so it's all right. The why, there's lots of different ways you can approach it. But for today, I'm going to actually do an exercise with you. Because if you can take away this tool, it's something you can do all the time. You can do it every day. It doesn't take very long. But when I first did it, I found it really hard to do. We'll go through it together. And before we get there, can you just get a blank sheet of paper? That's a bit of paper that has nothing on it. Because we're gonna do an exercise you're gonna need to write. Okay, you're not gonna share it with anybody. It is literally just for you to have. For you to use, because I want you to have an actual example of it, so when you go away from today, it's something you can refer to and have all the time. So we'll go to the next slide. So I really want to dive into helping you to connect with that emotional connection. This is your magic, your secret sauce, your personal magic wand to help you stay focused on what is ahead and not be dragged down into things that are going on around you. And this is probably one of my most favorite quotes from Jim Rohn: when the promise is clear, the price gets easy. Everybody say that with me. When the promise is clear, the price gets easy. I remember an example. No, I don't have time for that. Okay, so when the promise is clear, the price gets easy. It's when you know what's coming, then the sacrifice doesn't feel like a sacrifice, doesn't it? Giving up a Sunday today, I don't feel like I'm even making the sacrifice today because it's something I enjoy and I know what it's going to help me to achieve going forward. So when the promise is clear, the price gets easy. So we really want to focus on understanding what that promise is, why that promise, why that goal is important to us. So if we go to the next slide, please, assistant. So look at affirmations. Who's heard of affirmations? Everybody, even if you're brand new to Forever. Affirmations are part of our daily language today. And affirmations, I think, have been around for so long, they don't get the attention or the credibility they deserve, do they, Chris? I think people just pay lip service to them these days, especially now with social media. Every other post is a meme with a positive quote. Am I right? And do they really have the same impact on you they used to? No. It goes in and it goes off, right? But if we step back and look at the power behind an affirmation, so it helps to motivate you to act on certain things. Because remember, we can coach, train, mentor, inspire, but the only person who can motivate us to take action is who? Ourselves, because it comes from within. It's a do-it-yourself job. So an affirmation done the right way, which we're going to do together, okay? Ooh. And we're going to light candles. No, we're not. So it can help to motivate you to act on certain things. It can help you to concentrate on achieving your goals in life. So it helps you stay focused on looking ahead, not growing roots where you are. This one I like. It gives you the power to change your negative thinking patterns to positive thinking patterns. I don't know about you, but I find because we're bombarded with information all the time by this device that follows us around, that we carry around 24/7. It's so easy to fall into a negative thinking pattern. Before we realize it, we're in a downward spiral. And we've got to work on ourselves to pick ourselves back up into an upward spiral. So it's about empowering you to stay in control of the one thing we can control. Because we can control nothing out there. As much as I think I'd like to sometimes, I can't. I get really frustrated when things happen out of my control. Anybody else feel like that? Jeff tells me that all the time. He said, you just don't hate it when you don't have control. He said, you just hate it when you don't have control. I said, that's not true. It's not true. He said, it is true. So I have to focus on what I can control. And that's what's going on in here and what's going on in here. And that can be really hard if you feel frustrated or the depths of your disappointment or wherever you're at. So it's about helping you to develop a new belief system. I think sometimes if you're not moving as fast as you like, or you haven't achieved where you thought you'd be, if you're not where you thought you would be, your belief starts to maybe get clouded a little bit. Anybody else feel like that? So it's about building a really strong belief system and just help regain your confidence. Who feels like they could do with a shot of self-confidence? Okay, that's all within your power. So I'm going to take you through an exercise. I went through it with, I went on a health retreat with the fitness club I'm with, and I thought, oh, goal setting. What are they going to teach me? Well, I learned quite a lot, actually. And so this came from that weekend away, and I've shared it with as many people as I can because it's just a different approach, and it's a really simple tool to learn. So we're going to go through it. As we go through it, I want you to write in your notes, and then you've got a little system that you can take away with you. So this is about 2024. I want you to think about, well, Michael started off with, what is your number one goal for this year? Choose a goal. You all have something in mind you're not going to share this with anybody else. It's not a test, so you don't need to look at your neighbor's paper, see what answer they're writing. This is just for you to take away. So we start off with, what is your forever goal? So write it down. Here's an example. I've given you an example. I am a manager because the 1,500 pounds a month income means I can cut down 1 day a week from my job and have more time with my kids. So that's just an example. So what is your number one goal? Write it down and write your answer. So you know what the what is, and this example is I want to be a manager, and the why is, because I can cut 1 day a week from my job and have more time with my kids. When your heads are looking forward, I'll know I can move to the next stage, okay? But I don't want you to rush because this first bit's really important. Okay, I think we're about half the room. Chris? So once you've done your first statement, okay, let's go to the next question. So we're asking ourselves, why do you want to leave your job and have more time with your kids? So whatever you wrote down, ask yourself, why do you want that? Why is that important to you? And in this example, so I always find it helpful to have an example. In this example, working less in my job and more of my forever business will give me more fulfillment. Knowing I'm helping people and more time with my kids will mean I'm there for them every step of the way. So I have fulfillment as a mom and in my career. So ask yourself, whatever you wrote, what your goal is and why that was important to you, then why is that why important to you? Okay, step 3. Guess what's coming next? Why is that? So whatever your answer is, ask yourself again. So in this example, why do you want fulfillment as a mom and in your career? So why is whatever you wrote for the second part important to you? And listen, this should be intuitive. It's not a test. The first answer that comes to mind is the truth, is the real answer. Because you're not doing this to impress anybody else. It's not a test. So let it be intuitive. Don't force it. So why is that important to you? Okay, guess what's coming next? We're going to do this for 7 levels. Some of you might be going, I can't even get to level 3. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first did this, I really, really struggled. Anybody else feeling like they're struggling a little bit with, well, what does it mean to me? Why is it important to me? Anybody? This is a yes? No, it's okay. You can put your hand up. And for me, I felt like, well, the fact that I struggled with it, it was meaningful. It means it's been a while maybe since I've done a bit of self-reflection and spent too much time on the top level goal, on the what, and not enough on the why. So it took me 2 or 3 goes to really get to the essence of why that goal is important to me. And I was surprised by the time I got to level 7 of why it was important to me. And it was something, I think it was familiar, but I hadn't really appreciated just how significant it was emotionally. So you'll do it level 2, level 3, then whatever you wrote for level 3, you're going to ask yourself again, why is that important? And then whatever you wrote for level 4, you're going to ask yourself again, why is that important? Do we want to carry on to do 7 levels now? Can I trust you to do it all when you get home? Can I? Really? So, the harder it is, I think the more productive it's going to be. Don't treat it as a tick box exercise, because I'm pretty sure that in the however many days we have left of this year, my math was going to try and work it out and I gave up on that quite quickly. The rest of the 12 months that we have ahead of us, there are going to be some surprises. There are going to be some highs. There's going to be some lows. There's going to be some people who come and some people who go. There's going to be some things that aren't going to work out as planned. Some things are going to be better than planned. But this tool is about keeping you on track. It's about being mentally strong. It's about being emotionally strong so that you really can finish the year beyond your wildest dreams. And that's what this is about. Because it actually doesn't matter what the strategy is. Doesn't matter how great all the new tools are. Doesn't matter how many new events we put on. Doesn't matter how many new books you get or how many free tickets you win. If you're not clear about what you want to get from this, you know what? It'll just be another event. It'll just be another year. And you know what? You're better than that. We're better than that. So 7 layers deep. If we go to the, oh, here you are. Oh, see? I didn't even have to tell her. She's already there. Because it's at this moment when you hit the wall that something has to happen. And that has to happen from inside. No one can do it for you. You know, if we're having a bad day, sometimes you go and have a coffee with a friend or you have a chat on the phone. But ultimately, do you know what gets you out of a bad day? It's you. It's a decision. And you can, you know, a shift in mindset, a shift in energy can happen how quickly? How quickly? Like that. And so if you have an affirmation that you carry around with you on your phone, in your pocket, what if you every morning took out a new index card and you wrote out your affirmation? Every day you wrote a new card and that day you carried around that card. Do you think it might have a positive impact on you? Yes or no? Yes. So why not do that? If you audio recorded it and you listen to that audio 30-second affirmation that you record 10 times a day, you think it might have an impact on you? Yes. So why not do that? So that's the first part, is 7 layers deep. Because when you hit that wall, and I guarantee you will, because that's life, you'll be able to get over that wall and just keep going and achieve way beyond what you thought was possible. So that's the written side of our goals. Chris is going to take you through what else can you do? What's another amazing tool to help you really have a strong foundation for moving forward, really moving mountains? Because we're going to hear from our speaker later today who's going to show us what's possible in just 12 months. But why not you? And why not this year? Chris, over to you.
Thank you. Well, as Diana
Do you want me
said,
to move your slides?
Yes, please. Hey. Oh!
Oi, careful.
I thought that was solid. It's not. Good morning. Well, I'm not going to go through my story. If you want to know the detail and you don't already know it, you can come and ask me at the interval because we've got too much important stuff to share. I will say to you that Alan and I have been in the business 26 years. Oh, goodness me. And I've made every mistake in the book. I then invented a few of my own that weren't yet in the book. But I joined with a big reason. I had a big why. I wanted to get out of my corporate career and I wanted to have a life. I wanted, to be honest, freedom. And that's what I saw when I saw Forever. 2 things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to retail product and I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. But apart from those 2 things, you laugh, it's true, I was fully committed. And so when I started and I heard about this goal setting, you know, I didn't need to do that because I already had a goal. I wanted to give up my job. Finish. And training after training, people talked about goal setting. Training after training, people talked about vision boards, visualising. Well, corporate life, I didn't need to do that. I had a goal. I wanted to give up my job. And so I started my Forever journey. Within the year, I'd got to manager. That was 1998. And it got to the year 2000 and my business was not where I wanted it to be. In the January of 2000, so we're talking what? Whoa, is that 24 years, 23 years ago? I did 35 case credits and I sat down with Jane, my upline, and said, you know, my business just isn't where I want it to be. Alan's threatening that I have to go back to work and obviously it's your fault because I've done everything that you told me to. And she said, okay, show me your goals. I said, I want to get Alan out of his job because it moved on then. She said, no, show me your written goals. I said, well, I haven't done that. I don't need to because I know what it is. She said, well, I asked you to write down your goals, so that's one thing you haven't done. Show me your goal board. I said, well, I don't have a goal board. I said, okay, your vision book. I said, well, I don't actually have one of those either because I don't need them. Because I know what I want. So well, that's the second thing you haven't done that I've asked you to do. So she said, when you've done everything that I've asked of you, then you can blame me. Till then, you need to go away and get started. So I thought it was all a bit weird. Didn't think I needed to do it. But I went home and thought, well, I knew what my goal was. I'll put a dream book together because it gave me more room than on a board. And at least while I'm doing that, sticking pictures in, I won't need to talk to anybody about the business. So I felt that was quite a good thing. So home I went, I got lots of magazines, put my first dream book together. Oh, so excited. Alan's working, he comes in at the end of the day and says, how many people have you spoken to today? He always thought he was the managing director. And I said, I haven't had time to talk to anybody because I've been creating our life. And here's our book. He said, you've been doing what? I said, look, it's really good. And I'm showing him the book, and he said, I cannot believe what I am seeing. I have left this house at 5:30 this morning. I have worked my butt off all day while you're supposed to be at home getting me out of my job, and you're at home sticking pictures in a book. He said, I don't wish to speak about it anymore. So I was out at a product launch that night. We didn't speak before I went, but I left the book on the side, did my product launch. Don't think we spoke when I got back either. But after a couple of days, things had thawed a little, and I'd got my plan in place now that I'd got my goals and my dream book. And I picked up my dream book to take to a planning meeting. And as I was going through it, I thought, it's a bit strange, it feels a bit different. And when I looked to the back of the book, Alan had taken the book and put all his things in the back, in my dream book. So I was a little taken back, one of those things being a silver grey racehorse that he'd wanted all his life. And I had said to him, forever we'll do that. And when I got home, I said, a little bit shocked about the book. And he said, well, I've been thinking about it, and if Jane's right and you get everything you want, he said, I don't want to get left out, so I've put mine in the other half. And I did look, I wanted to bring that dream book to show you today, but we've moved house, I couldn't put my hands on it. But I can tell you that every single thing in that book we achieved, including the silver grey racehorse. So life-changing, completely life-changing. So once we have that goal, we need to put it into pictures. The reason we need to put it into pictures because it is the language of our brain. Our brain communicates in images, and of course when we put pictures together, images together, then we get that emotive connection, don't we? We get those feelings. And it's those feelings, those emotions that bring the law of attraction to us. Harnessing the power of our thoughts is key to success in absolutely any field. And the great thing about our subconscious, which is 95% of our brain, it has no idea if what we're telling them is true or not. And that's why athletes, 50% of a professional athlete's training is visualizing the outcome of the next race. In fact, some of you may have seen a program with Tom Daley when he won 2 golds. In fact, he had very little practice before those 2 gold medals because he had an operation, and then he caught COVID very badly. And when he was being interviewed, he said obviously he kept this very quiet. He didn't want his competitors to know he'd been out of practice for so long. But he said, in fact, he did more practice because he visualised all day, every day, exactly how his performance was going to go and winning those gold medals. So I have to say that my first dream book convinced me because 35 case credits in the January in my dream book I'd got car plan. You just do the next slide, please. I got car plan for October of that year, 35 case credits to 150. I must say, I was thinking, I'm not sure, but it was in the dream book. I didn't order the car. I wanted a silver BMW. It was the year 2000. Every car was silver in the millennium, do you remember? And when we hit car plan, I rang the garage and said I'd like a 3 Series coupe, black interior, silver. And they said, I said, in the next 2 weeks. And he said, we've no stock. He said, but I'll ring round the dealerships and I'm sure I can get you something. So he came back so excited. And he said, got it. He said, nearly there. He said, it's black. I went, no, that's not my car. Mine's silver. It's silver in the book. And he said, what book? I said, you don't need to know about the book, but it's silver in the book. Okay? So I said, give me a ring when you've got a silver one. He said, I'm telling you, we've no more cars coming in. It's just not going to happen. I said, call me, 2 weeks. 4 days later, he rang me and he said, you're a bit weird. I said, I take that as a compliment. And he said, we have a silver 3 Series coupe, black interior. The guy who ordered it had it built for him specially, has lost his job, has given back word. We can have it to you 2 days before the success day. Yes. And that was September, not October, so we did it a month early. So, thank you. That convinced me that maybe, it could have been a coincidence, but maybe this was something that really worked. So whether you do a goal board, whether you do a dream book, and the other sheet you see there, the image, is an image of one of the reasons I wanted to give my job up was to be with my family. So I think sometimes when I talk to people about dream boards and goal books, they say, it's all about stuff. No, it isn't. My first dream book created the life I wanted to live when I didn't go into work. Because in my head, when I thought of giving up my job, I thought of my job. And that was depressing. But when I thought of what I'd do, I'd get up and go to the gym during the day. I'd have coffee with friends. I'd have more time with my mum, with my family. So make your goal board, your dream board, whichever way you do it, your goal map, make it how you want to live your life. Next slide, please. Of course, goal mapping. I did my first goal map in 2000. Brian Main, amazing, because this combines the left and the right brain activity. So you've got whole brain activity going on, and that's what you need to build a forever business. Really easy now. We used to have to draw. Gosh, I couldn't show you some of my early ones. But now you can download images on the computer. We've taught this to our girls from them being young teenagers. We'd take them to Brian. They'd have their goal maps on their bedroom walls, inside their wardrobe doors. So this is a really, really great example of using both sides of your brain to achieve what you want. But I want to leave you with the story that Diana asked me to share. And in fact, when we were chatting about this slot, I'd forgotten about this. It's amazing what you forget. But in 2007, we bought our dream home, a farmhouse in National Trust Park on the Colk Estate, 330 acres. We didn't buy 330 acres, we only bought 2. But it was in 330 acres, and it was a wreck. For those of you that are old enough to remember Everest double glazing, it was in fact the farmhouse where they dropped the feather outside the window to prove that Everest double glazing was the best. It was secondary glazing, terrible, dead animals in between. Anyway, we knocked the place down and rebuilt it, but we only had 4 months in which to rebuild it. And 5 bedrooms, kitchen, lounge, dining room, all those things, all have to be done in such a short space of time. And I thought, well, I'll borrow the dream book idea. And so that's what I did. I got a big book, and together we tore pictures out of magazines. We put paint colours for each room. So we had a double spread for each room of the house. And so when we go to a shop or a store or whatever, we could open the page and say, right, we're focused on the bathroom, or right, we're focused on the lounge. So we did. We managed to do it in 4 months. We moved in. And sometime later, friends were around and they were saying, oh, you know, it looks great, you've done a great job. How did you do it in, you know, how did you get your head round doing all of that in a short time? And I said, oh, we had a book. And we got chatting. They said, oh, can we see it? So we got the book out. And in the book, I'd torn this image, which not exactly that image, very similar, but it didn't have a rug. And the reason that I tore this image out of a lounge was the flooring. We wanted to put a solid oak floor through the hall and dining room. And so I got that image in order to show the builder that this is the finish that we wanted. And as we're going through this book and they're saying, well, yeah, you know, and we're just chatting over a glass of wine about it, we looked, and in the corner where this lamp is, in fact, there was a globe made out of precious stones. A weird thing, really. Only in the April of that year, we'd gone to the Athens Rally, then had a week on the island of Hydra. We'd just been promoted to soaring manager, and as a souvenir, we'd bought that globe. And it was now sitting in our garden room. Bit strange. We hadn't even noticed that globe was in that image. Then when we had another look, we found that we'd bought the mirror that was in that image. No idea. We'd gone on a weekend away with family up to Harrogate. We'd been in an antique shop and we bought a Venetian mirror that was now in our bathroom. The exact same mirror that was in that image. We had no conscious thought of doing that. It was a complete shock. So that really taught me then to be careful what we're looking at, be careful what we're wishing for, because if we're not feeding our brain, feeding our subconscious with what we want, we're feeding it with perhaps things we don't want. So it doesn't have to be a dream book, doesn't have to be a dream board. But I promise you, suspend belief, whichever way you do it, suspend belief, because you truly have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
And I would just finish off by saying, be patient. Because I know when I first started doing vision boards and affirmations and, well, I did, today's Sunday. If I go home tonight and do my dream board, isn't it going to be with me by Wednesday? You know, and you have to back it up with the activity and just be a little bit patient. You know, we're unfolding the new 2024 strategy today in the weeks, you know, weeks ahead. And be patient, you know, go the distance. And that's the whole idea of an affirmation followed by a vision board. It helps you to go the distance. Because a 12-month plan is not 4 days, it's 12 months. And so it's about really just staying firmly planted on that journey to achieve the things that matter most to you. But that story for me probably will stay with me till the day I die. If you invest the time in getting clear about what you want and then backing it up with some visions, it's amazing what's possible. And I think most people in Forever will go on to say they're living a life beyond what they thought was possible when they first started. So have fun. Thank you.